I am a monarch. I am a monarch. I am a monarch. I am a monarch.
A cool, cloudy, late September evening here in the Los Altos Hills, California. Foothill College, the scene. And that can only mean one thing. Archbishop Mitty football is on the air. Good evening, everybody. This is JT Hanley coming to you live from Foothill Junior College, home of the Monarchs, as they welcome the Fighting Irish of Sacred Heart Cathedral down from San Francisco in week 2 of the WCAL season. Monarchs will be receiving the kick tonight. And Sacred Heart Cathedral.
Number 19, Sebastian Gonzalez Moore to kick off the game for Sacred Heart Cathedral today.
Sebastian Gonzalez Moore will be kicking off number 19. Number 12, Billy Hutton, back to receive for the Monarchs, along with number 5, Toju Maku. And it's Maku who, check that, Hutton who fields the kickoff. And nifty little return back out. Monarchs will take over just over their own 30-yard line.
Tackled by 25, Isaiah Evans.
Monarchs trying to bounce back after last week's league opening loss to St. Francis. That game taking place just across town in Mountain View. Monarchs entered tonight's game with a record of 3-1, trying to get back onto winning ways. Number 14, senior Joey Campagna in the backfield. And we're going to get our first look at number 44, Lazaro Faraj Washington. Faraj Washington, a transfer student who becomes eligible tonight. First start for the Monarchs, and Lazaro rumbles forward for a nifty 7-yard gain. That'll bring up a 2nd and 3. AJ Sinazal in the backfield now with Campagna. And the snap is fumbled. And Joey was able to recover, but not before giving back a lot of the yards that they had gained on that first play from scrimmage. And that'll bring up a 3rd and, let's call it 7.
3rd down and about 8 for your Monarchs.
Maddox Gamez down at the bottom of your screen. Billy Hutton in the slot. Senazal pulls the ball down, rumbles forward. He's close to a first down. This one's going to depend on the spot that he manages to get. And the line judge has ruled that his forward momentum did, in fact, gain enough yardage to move the sticks, and that'll bring up a first down. So some nifty footwork there by Joey Campagna, evading the rush. And off goes to number 6, AJ Senazal. Senazal met hard at the line.
Number 6, AJ Senazal, the ball carrier.
Number 19,
Banged down by
Sebastian Gonzalez Moore, the free safety, up on that tackle, along with number 21, Jason Maubrey. Maubrey leading the Irish this year in tackles with 17 on the year. And apparently there is an injured member of the Fighting Irish who is down on the far sideline, near sideline to you, tuning in at home, right in front of the Monarch bench. Training staff for Sacred Heart Cathedral making their way across the field, and will attend to this young man who is currently down on the sideline. As I mentioned earlier on, the Monarchs last week, a tough 42-20 loss in the league opener across town at St. Francis. That coming on the heels of 3 consecutive non-league wins. The Monarchs defeating James Logan, Aptos, and Santa Teresa High School, and then going into the bye week before the WCAL season. In the meantime, the Fighting Irish come into tonight's game 0-4 on the year. 49-13 loss to Pittsburgh in the season opening game. That game out in Pittsburgh. And then a home game against Sacred Heart Prep. 42-23 loss there. Wilcox High School hosting the Irish 3 weeks ago. They dropped that game 28-12. And then last week, the Serra Padres made their way to San Francisco. Kezar Stadium, the site of that game, and Sacred Heart Cathedral dropping that game by the big score of 61-0. So they'll be looking to bounce back tonight as well. Both these teams trying to get onto winning ways in the always competitive WCAL season. Monarchs break the huddle after that injury timeout. A.J. Senezal, the lone back, with Campagna in the shotgun. And Campagna with the keeper, and he busts this one forward. And he'll pick up his second first down of this opening drive.
Campagna on the option. Tackled by O'Brien.
So a solid bit of running there by Joey Campagna. And some deft ball handling as well, as the play fake to Senezal drew enough of the Irish attention to create a hole. Now Campagna back to pass, and he unloads one long. And the pass is complete. Number 12, Billy Hutton. Hauling that one in. And that's Billy's 8th catch of the year. And his 1 touchdown on the campaign to go with those 7 receptions. Senezal again, the lone back. Handoff there was to Faraj Washington, who again pounds forward.
Faraj Washington on the run.
Picks up about 3 yards, and that'll bring up a second and long 7.
Second down and 8.
Senezal in the backfield again, joined this time by number 87, Owen Harrington. Play fake, Campagna, he's got a man open in the end zone. And that was Harrington. Joey with just a little too much air under that one. Passing complete, and it'll bring up a 3rd and, let's call it a short 8. So this is a rather important play early on in this game, opening drive for the Monarchs. Senezal, again, the lone back, takes the handoff, rumbles forward, picks up a little second effort, but they'll leave him shy of the first down, and Coach Danny Sullivan will have a decision to make.
To the 10-yard line. 4th down and about 4.
4th and 4 for the Monarchs. Billy Hutton checking back in. And the initial look is that the Monarchs will go for it here on 4th and 4. Monarchs trying a hard count, getting nothing for that, and so
Mitty.
with the ball inside the red zone, Danny Sullivan decides to use his first timeout of the evening on this opening drive. And he's going to talk it over with the offense along with the coaching staff. Conversation earlier in the week with Danny Sullivan. He stressed the importance of a positive start in tonight's game after that tough loss to the Lancers. Both he and Coach Fred Coloto indicated that the team mentality this week at practice was a positive one. Trying to learn from some of the lessons from last Friday night's loss. One of those, of course, being that mistakes in the WCAL are costly. So the premium being put tonight on clean execution. Campagna comes back out of that timeout, takes a snap. Back to pass. And Toju Maku was the intended receiver. That ball thrown just a little bit behind, and Monarchs will turn the ball over, and the Irish taking over on downs.
Phone was lost and found in the women's restroom. If you lost your phone in the women's restroom,
Sacred Heart Cathedral will begin their first possession of the night at their own 10-yard line.
On the press box side of the stadium. Again, at the front gate press box side. Please be prepared to identify it. That way they can give it back to you.
And we're going to get our first look at another transfer tonight. Number 15, Michael Sargent at quarterback for the Irish. Number 15, Sargent, a sophomore, 6 foot, 175 pounds, and he's making his first debut for Cathedral. Sargent's first pass is complete
15, Michael Sargent
to number 1, Enzo Quattraroli.
Good to see him back in the game and okay.
Quattraroli,
12-yard completion to the 22.
a defensive standout with 14 tackles on the year, but making a nice catch and picking up a first down there on that 12-yard reception. And there is movement on the line. Number 51, Brody Hatch, with a false start, and that'll move the ball back 5 yards. Sargent brings the Irish back up at 1st and 15 from their own 17-yard line. Delayed handoff there is to number 6, Legend Williams. And Williams advances the ball forward for about 4 yards, gain of about 4. Williams is the leading ball carrier this season thus far for the Fighting Irish. 30 carries, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the year coming into tonight's game. I'm sure that we're going to see quite a bit from number 6 this evening, as he now lines up as the deep back and now shifts as the lone back next to Sargent, who takes the snap, looks downfield. And Obion Flanagan with a nice catch and run. And a big gain for the Fighting Irish as they move deep into Monarch territory.
.43-yard gain.
So Sargent coming out firing early here. Picking up a big gain. Jackson Irons, number 10, shifts into the slot. Delayed handoff goes to Williams again. And he's met by a whole group of Monarchs.
Legend Williams, the ball carrier.
Push Williams back to the original line of scrimmage. We'll see his forward progress marked. And he's given credit for about a yard. That'll bring up a 2nd and 9.
Gain of yard. 2nd and 9 at the Monarch 29.
Williams and Irons in the backfield again. Now Irons shifts into the slot. The bottom part of your picture. 3 receivers to the right. Sargent back to pass. He's got a receiver. And a great toss and catch. And that is number 10, Jackson Irons. Irons lined up in the backfield and then shifted again into the slot. Ran a very quick slant over the middle, and Sargent zipped that ball in,
29-yard touchdown,
finding the seam in the Monarch zone coverage. And then Irons did the rest of the work, turning upfield and putting 6 points on the board here in the first quarter. And some mixed signals there as the Sacred Heart offense came out in what looked to be a 2-point conversion attempt, but got a bit scrambled with their formation, and they're forced to call a timeout. So with 6:09 on the board, they will talk it over. And after a regrouping, the Irish have decided to forego the 2-point conversion. And they bring out Sebastian Gomez-Moore. And Gomez-Moore's point after attempt is straight and true.
Irish on the board first tonight. Sacred Heart Cathedral 7, your Monarch 2nd.
And that makes the score Sacred Heart Cathedral 7, Archbishop Mitty nothing. 6:09 left to go here in the first quarter. Danny Sullivan mentioned earlier in the week when we were talking that Sargent could be an X factor. As I mentioned earlier in the webcast, Sargent's a transfer student, and the sophomore had been ineligible until tonight's game, displacing the original starter, number 5, Michael Patton. And it was Sullivan's opinion that Sargent could be a difference maker. He's a strong-armed quarterback, even though he's only a sophomore. Showed a lot of poise on that drive, not only in terms of his ability to connect with his receivers, but he looked pretty calm back there in the pocket running the Irish offense. So we'll have to see if Archbishop Mitty comes up with a solution to see if they can throw some challenges in the way. And the Irish will kick off without a tee. Number 80, Mason Wojtek, holding the ball for Gonzalez-Moore, whose kick is short and fielded by the upbacks. Number 16, Elijah Batista,
Number 16, Elijah,
the return man on that, and Batista gets the ball out to about the 37-yard line, and the Monarchs will take over for their second possession of the night. And we'll look to put together something to answer that opening drive, which was an impressive one by the Fighting Irish. Campagna comes out. Joined in the backfield by Owen Harrington and Faraz Washington. Maddox Gamez in motion. Delayed handoff. And Lazaro Faraz Washington showing why many of his teammates have been excited to get this young man out on the field. He's a shifty running back, and he picked his way through his blocking nicely, broke into the secondary and put together a nice first down carry and all the way into Sacred Heart Cathedral territory. 1st and 10 at the Irish 46. Hand off again, and Lazaro Washington breaks the first tackle, and once again he rumbles into the Fighting Irish backfield.
Tackled by 20, Danilo Salgado.
Great acceleration.
17-yard rush to the 29. 1st and 10.
Lazaro Washington, only a sophomore, but looked every part the up-and-coming player that he is touted to be. Play action, Campagna has a receiver. It's Owen Harrington, and Harrington's catch and run will be good enough for another first down. So the Monarchs, after surrendering a touchdown to the Fighting Irish on their opening drive, are now marching down the field with a great mixture of play calls. That play action froze the Irish defense after 2 successful runs. And Harrington with a great catch and run for the first down. Handoff is to A.J. Senezal. And the senior tailback rumbles forward.
Stopped by 75 Benny Hatch.
A.J.'s
given a gain of 2 to the 16.
Carry good for
2nd and 8.
About 3 yards. That'll bring up a 2nd and long 7. Play fake again to Senezal. Campagna rumbles forward, and he is close to the end zone. And it looked like he is going to be marked down just short of the end zone.
15-yard run to the 1.
And yeah, the ball marked with about 1 foot to go. So again, another great play fake, and Campagna showing some nifty running skills to bust that forward, and that'll bring up a 1st and goal. As they break the huddle, Senezal and Faraz Washington both line up in the backfield. Handoff to Faraz Washington, rumbles forward. He's met behind the line of scrimmage, and a great play that time.
Faraz Washington on the run.
Obion Flanagan once again coming up from his free safety spot and meeting Faraz Washington at the point of contact and getting some help from his D-line compatriots. And that moves the ball back
2nd and goal at the 3.
a couple of yards. 2nd and goal from the 3-yard line. Again, twin running backs. Handoff to Senezal, busted up the middle. And AJ breaks the goal line. And the Monarchs are on the board. So a very impressive drive by Archbishop Mitty. And they answer. And we're going to get our first look at Grant Schmidt tonight as the Monarch place kicker. Schmidt replacing the regular kicker, Nate Malone. And Grant's first
Archbishop Mitty 7.
duty as place kicker is a successful PAT. And we're all tied up, 7 apiece, with 2:39 left in the first quarter. And that drive and touchdown really brought the student section alive here. Looks from the press box as though it's pro jersey night. A whole variety of NFL and Major League Baseball, NBA, and other apparel. Today was a school holiday for the student body, and that combined with the weather making the crowd a little bit smaller than our opening week attendance. But they are more than making up for it with their enthusiasm, and that long drive and touchdown certainly helped them in that regard. And so Schmidt, after that point after attempt, will now serve up a kickoff.
Schmidt's kickoff.
Obion Flanagan back to receive the kick, and Schmidt's kickoff bounces out of bounds at about the 25-yard line. And so the ball will be advanced about 10 yards. And the Irish will take over at their own 35-yard line. Sargent remains the quarterback, with Legend Williams, the lone running back. Delayed handoff goes to Williams. Breaks the tackle at the line of scrimmage, rumbles forward, and he gains about 5 on that first carry.
Williams, the ball carrier. Tackle by Hutton.
Number 87, Owen Harrington, checking into the game for the Monarchs.
2nd and 6.
And after Williams' carry, bring up a 2nd and 6. Twin backs again. Enzo Quattraroli now in motion. Sargent back to pass. Quick pop into the slot.
Sargent's pass complete to Quattraroli.
And that catch and run good enough for a 13-yard gain. 1st and 10 at the Monarch 48. Monarch showing blitz. Sargent rolling out to his left, and he's met just past the line of scrimmage. Forward progress may have picked up a yard.
Tackle by number 8, Talon Salahi. Gain of 1. 2nd down and 9 at the Monarch 47.
Talon Salahi, number 8, with the tackle. Sargent again lines up in the shotgun. Takes the snap, looks to his left, and he is pressured and brought down. A big play. Tika Reed. Reed, a bit of a surprise tonight. He picked up a knock in the St. Francis game. But Tika looking no worse for the wear on that play as he shed his blocker and brought Sargent down for a big loss, and that'll bring up a 3rd and 21. The Irish with 2 receivers split to the right, and now make that 3 as Jackson Irons again shifts into the slot. Oh, and Irons again finding a seam inside the Monarch zone, and that time not able to bring the pass down. But once again, The Irish finding space in the seam of that Monarch deep zone, and that could have been catastrophic had Irons been able to bring that down. As it is, it brings up a 4th and 21, and the punt team out for Sacred Heart Cathedral. And number 12, Billy Hutton, back to receive that punt for Archbishop Mitty. 6.1 seconds left on the clock here in quarter number 1. High snap, and the kick has gotten off.
Billy Hutton on the return. Tackle for no gain at the 25.
Jason Maubrey on the coverage.
For Gonzalez.
Taking a great individual tackle on Hutton. And so at the end of the first quarter, it's Archbishop Mitty 7, Sacred Heart Cathedral 7, and they'll move the ball down the other end of the field, and we will be right back at the start of the second quarter. You're listening to Archbishop Mitty Monarch Football here on AMHS Live.
Monarchs begin this possession, 1st and 10. At their own 15.
Penalty requires us to play one untimed foul.
And it looks like we're going to stick around for one more play. Monarch penalty on that punt return has moved the ball back to their own 15, and so they'll play one snap here in the first quarter. Campagna back to pass. He's got a man open.
Campagna's pass complete to Hutton.
And Billy Hutton with a great catch and hold. And now the quarter is well and truly done. And they'll move the ball down the other end of the field and head the other direction.
Archbishop Mitty 7.
And so now, after one quarter, it's Archbishop Mitty 7, Sacred Heart Cathedral 7. You're watching Archbishop Mitty football here on AMHS Live. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everybody. JT Hanley here with you at the start of the second quarter as the Monarchs take over. 1st and 10 after Campagna's completion to Hutton. Play action pass. And that is Faraj Washington, and he will not be caught. And on the second play of this series, first of the quarter, Faraj Washington with a 65, make that a 66-yard catch and run. And Archbishop Mitty now, after falling behind to an early touchdown by the Fighting Irish, has put together 2 back-to-back scores And Grant Schmidt comes back out to attempt the point after. Schmidt's kick is up, and it is good. And just like that, it's Archbishop Mitty 14, Sacred Heart Cathedral 7. So a great bit of play calling there, again, coming from the sideline, and Campagna showing excellent composure, picked out Faraj Washington. The pass was a little tricky, and Lazaro had to slow his run just enough to bring the ball under control. But once he did that, his acceleration down the near sideline pulled him away from all of the Irish defenders. And he coasted into the end zone 66 yards later for his first touchdown as a Monarch. And that now gives them a 7-point lead at the head end of the second quarter here. And Schmidt back over to the sideline to pick up a new tee. And he's got the one he wants. And he places the ball a kick away from the 40-yard line. Number 10, Jackson Irons, back to receive the kick, along with number 2, O'Brien Flanagan. And there'll be no return on that one as the ball sails into the end zone for a touchback. And the Irish will take over at their own 20-yard line. So after a bit of a rocky start, 2 fine offensive series by the Monarchs now have them holding a 7-point lead, and the Irish, with sophomore quarterback Michael Sargent, and they will look to try to respond. Sargent's first pass of the quarter, O'Brien Flanagan.
Sargent's pass complete to O'Brien Flanagan.
And the junior wide receiver picks up about 4 yards. That'll bring up a 2nd and 6.
4-yard completion, 2nd and 6 at the 24.
Legend Williams, the lone back. And delayed handoff goes to Williams, breaks the first tackle, and he surges forward, and that'll be good enough for a first down.
Williams, the ball carrier. Tackle by 62.
Forward progress
Santiago
marked
Hardesty.
at about the, I think at the 33-yard line.
33-yard line. That's a gain of 9.
That's good enough for an Irish first down. Williams and Irons in the backfield. Again, Irons with his shift into the slot. Quick pop pass out into the flat. O'Brien Flanagan
Tackled by Maku.
with some nifty running after the catch.
11-yard completion.
And the sticks moved again for the Irish.
1st and 10 at the Irish 44.
And the Sacred Heart receiver showing an ability to tack yardage on after the catch tonight. Turning a number of these short pass plays into long gainers. Delayed handoff goes to Williams, and he surges forward. Met by number 23, Grant Schmidt, along with 75, Alex Brzezinski, but not before Williams picks up another first down.
1st and 10.
And the ball now Crosses midfield into Monarch territory. Once again, the lone back. And after making a assist on that last tackle, Alex Baczynski just a little over anxious on that and jumped offside into the neutral zone. And that'll be a 5-yard penalty. Brings up 1st and 5 for Sacred Heart Cathedral. Irish continuing to pound the ball forward as Legend Williams continues to do a lot of the heavy lifting. Gain of about 3 yards there. That'll bring up a 3rd and 2. As I mentioned earlier on, Williams is the primary ball carrier for the Irish. And you can see he's used to a high number of carries running behind this talented offensive line. A bit of trickery there. And once again, Jackson Irons coming in motion from right to left and then curling back into the flat, hit with a pop pass. That play was originally intended to go to the far side of the field, but the Monarchs had shut that down. And then Irons, of course, showing some nifty footwork, cut the ball back to the left side and picked up yet another Sacred Heart Cathedral 1st down. So the Irish moving the ball down the field, combination of runs and passes. Irons again shifts into the slot.
Hightower, the ball carrier.
Hightower was the ball carrier on that play, and now 3 wide receivers split to the right, and this play has the look of a passing situation. Play action pass, Sargent back to pass, rolls to his right, looking deep in the end zone. He's got a man open, but that ball is underthrown and intercepted.
Sargent pass intercepted by Hutton.
Billy Hutton with an outstanding read on that.
Down in the end zone. 1st and 10.
That's Hutton's first interception of the season, and it kills what had been a very promising drive for Sacred Heart Cathedral. Sargent showed a lot of patience as he broke out of the pocket and rolled to his right. He found a man deep in the end zone, but unfortunately the sophomore's throw was just a little bit short. Hutton read the play perfectly, stepped in and made the interception, and now the Monarchs will take over on their own 20-yard line. So a promising drive there comes to nothing for the Irish. Caden Allard in motion to the left. Handoff goes to A.J. Sinazal. He busts outside, turns the ball upfield, still on his feet. And A.J. with one of his signature runs off tackle. Caden Allard in motion and then provided the crucial block to get A.J. outside. And that's a 16-yard gain. As Sinazal advances the ball out to the 36-yard line and, more importantly, picks up a 1st down for Archbishop Mitty. A.J. stays in the backfield with Campagna. Campagna with a play fake to Billy Hutton, and he rumbles forward. That is his 3rd long run of the night. And Campagna mixing things up really well.
Tackled by Hightower and Sweeney.
Typically this season,
Another 16-yard run. to the
Campagna
Irish
has
48.
not been the designated designed runner on a lot of these plays, and some trickery with the play calling has really mixed up the Irish defense.
Timeout. Sacred Heart Cathedral.
And mixed them up so much, in fact, that Sacred Heart Cathedral has decided to call a timeout and see if they can stop the bleeding here a little bit as the Monarchs are putting together another outstanding drive here at the midway point of the second quarter. 7:20 left on the clock. So Demario Carter, Antoine Evans, and the rest of the staff will talk it over with the Irish to see if they can return some semblance of organization to this Fighting Irish defense. In the meantime, Danny Sullivan and his staff giving instructions to Joey Campagna and the Monarch offense as they move the ball downfield and advanced into Sacred Heart Cathedral territory. The ball on the 48, 1st and 10 with 7:20 left on the clock here in the second quarter. Play fake again. Campagna's got a receiver downfield. And there is a late flag. There is actually a festival of flags come flying in. The first one was a bit late, but we are going to get a pass interference call.
There is a flag on the play.
And the referees are talking this one over. Again, 3 separate flags thrown on that very late after the play had ended in what appeared to have been an incomplete. But the officiating crew now standing out at about the 35-yard line holding a conclave. And here's the decision.
On the defense, pass interference on the offense, walking downfield.
And we have offsetting pass interference calls. We'll nullify the play. And we'll do that one all over again. So somewhat of an unusual situation. Doesn't happen a lot in high school football, but twin pass interference calls. Danny Sullivan is trying to get some clarification from the head referee. And after that discussion, we'll reset it here and wind the clock. As it ticks down to the 7-minute mark left here in the first half of play. Campagna again in the shotgun. Caden Allard in the slot to his right. Hand off to A.J. Senezal. Senezal breaks a tackle, breaks a second tackle. He's into the secondary.
Senezal on the run.
And finally brought down by number 33, Cooper Guamina.
23-yard burst to the 25.
A 23-yard pickup by the senior tailback. And the ball moved all the way down to the Fighting Irish 25-yard line. And another big chunk of yardage and first down. Toju Mako split at the bottom of your screen. Delayed a handoff again, and this time it's Jonah Croning in at quarterback, and number 7 rumbles forward. We had a late flag after the touchdown was indicated. Let's wait to see what happens with that. But Croning with a great bit of ball handling with a play fake to Senazal and then pulled the ball back out, waited for the hole to open up, and then rumbled forward for 25 yards and another Archbishop Mitty touchdown. And once again, the referees gathering, group of 4 of them, to discuss that late flag that was thrown after the touchdown had been scored. And let's see what the call is. And they are picking up the flag. So another discussion, and they have decided that whatever the original thought was, they've thought better of it. And Grant Schmidt back out for his 3rd PAT attempt of the half. Jonah Croning to hold. And after a brief discussion to clarify that picked up flag with the coaching staff of the Fighting Irish, Cronin will take the snap, place, and Schmidt's kick is up. And it is good. And so 21 unanswered points by the Monarchs. Gives us a scoreline of 21-7 in favor of Archbishop Mitty. So you'd have to say a fairly impressive set of drives after giving up that first touchdown. The Monarchs have roared back, putting up 3 unanswered touchdown scores and a variety of plays, some nifty runs, quarterback keepers. A touchdown, of course, by our debutante, sophomore running back Lazaro Faraz Washington on the big catch and run, that 66-yarder in the first quarter. And the end result of all of that is a 14-point lead for the Monarchs. Schmidt will kick away. Jackson Irons back to receive the kick. And the kick is driven into the end zone, and yet another touchback. So it's worth noting that Grant Schmidt stepping in this week to take over the kicking duties. Nate Malone, the place kicker at the beginning of the season, the coaching staff decided to make the switch for tonight's game, and thus far, Grant Schmidt has not put a foot wrong. 3 for 3 in his PATs and 3 touchbacks on kickoffs. And so the Irish take over, 6:05 on the clock. And once again, it's number 6, Legend Williams, the ball carrier.
Williams, the ball carrier. Stop by Reed.
Picks up perhaps 4 yards. That'll bring up 2nd and 6 for the Fighting Irish.
2nd and 6 at the Irish 24.
Jackson Irons shifts into. And that was quite a play. Enzo Quattraroli nearly lost that, put the ball up for grabs, and was able to run under his own deflection and pick up a nifty gain, and the ball now out to the 45-yard line of the Irish. Three receivers to the left. And number 77, Dan Smith, caught in the neutral zone. That'll cost the Monarchs 5 yards and make it a 1st and 5 for the Fighting Irish. Quattaroli now in the slot with Williams the lone back. He takes the handoff, rumbles forward, and smashes into a host of Monarchs, but not before picking up another 1st down and moving the ball into Archbishop Mitty territory. Ball placed at the Monarch 44-yard line with 4:28 here in the 2nd quarter.
6-yard run to the 44. 1st and 10.
Irish shift into 3 receivers to the left. Sargent back to pass, looking to his left. And another nice catch. Jackson Irons finding that seam up the middle of the Monarch zone. And on second look, it has now been ruled as an incomplete pass. And he's not able to get himself completely under the ball and control it. But you can see that the Irish have seen something in the Monarch zone at that central seam of the field. They've tried several times tonight, once successfully for a touchdown, to exploit whatever it is they're seeing. Again, 3 wide receivers split to the bottom of your screen. Sargent backs the pass. He's got a man open.
Sargent's pass incomplete, intended for Flanagan.
But O'Brien Flanagan unable to run underneath that one. Sargent putting just a little bit too much on that. And so that's going to bring up 3rd and 10 from the Monarch 44-yard line.
Third and 10 at the Monarch 44.
2 receivers split to the left, single receiver to the far sideline. Now the shift with 3 receivers at the bottom of the screen. And that ball is picked off.
Sargent pass intercepted by
Owen Flanagan. Pardon me, Owen Harrington on the pickoff, and Owen had mounds of open yardage in front of him. A saving tackle there, preventing yet another Monarch score.
37-yard return to the 19.
But you're beginning to see Sargent trying to force passes into spaces that he might be better off not trying to exploit. Harrington sat in the zone and then read the quarterback's eyes perfectly well, stepped into that pass and nearly had a pick 6. As it is, the ball is now marked on the Fighting Irish 19. Joey Campagna returns as the quarterback. He rolls to his right. Got a receiver deep in the end zone. And another Monarch touchdown, Justin Mendez.
Campagna's pass is incomplete, intended for Justin Mendez.
And that ball, unfortunately, also ruled incomplete. But an excellent play call. And once again, Campagna finding the open receiver. Unfortunately, Mendez unable to bring the ball down. But the Archbishop Mitty offensive coordinator and the coaching staff are now finding a way through this Irish defense. And the right side of the line in particular, number 77, Dan Smith, and number 75, Alex Blazinski, now starting to exploit the matchup with the smaller Fighting Irish D-line.
8-yard gain to the 11. 3rd down and 2.
That run good for 8 yards, and it brings up a 3rd and 2.
That is Cooper Gamina on the field being assisted. Hopefully he'll be all right.
Number 33, Cooper Gamina, was temporarily down on the field, and that stopped the clock with 3:04. Gamina now back up on his own power and being walked off. Member of the training staff with him. He seems to be moving relatively well. Hopefully nothing too serious for the young man. Gamina, a senior tight end. He's been involved in several plays tonight. He'll take a little bit of a breather. And after he's escorted from the field, the Irish come back out.
Following the injury timeout, 3rd down.
And Campagna returns with the offense. A.J. Senezal, the lone back. Billy Hutton in the slot. With Maddox Gomez at the top of your screen. Handoff goes to Senezal. Once again over the right side, and A.J. with a second effort picks up the 1st down and moves the ball inside the 5-yard line. The ball will be marked at the 4-yard line, and that'll be a 1st and goal for the Monarchs. So again, that right side of the Archbishop Mitty line doing their job and creating holes for the senior tailback to find, and he picks his way through, and the Monarchs now have a 1st and goal. Billy Hutton in motion. Handoff goes to Senezal again over the right side, and A.J. rumbles into the end zone for another Monarch touchdown.
A.J. Senezal, a 4-yard touchdown run.
And so Mitty starting to establish some dominance up front on the offensive line, really pushing the Irish defenders around, and that'll bring Grant Schmidt out again for his 4th PAT attempt. Kronig to hold, gets the ball down. Grant's kick is up and good.
And the Schmidt point after attempt is good.
And with 2:24 left to play in the 2nd quarter, it's Archbishop Mitty 28, Sacred Heart Cathedral 7. So again, similar to what we saw in our opening broadcast of the season when Aptos came to town, the Monarchs taking advantage of some excellent blocking on the right side. Alex Blazinski, number 75, Dan Smith, number 77, and they are ably assisted by tight end Caden Allard. A.J. Senezal and Lazaro Faraj Washington have both been the beneficiaries of some fine offensive line play. John Skeet, the center, also having something to say on that drive. And Mitty now with a 3-touchdown lead inside of 2.5 minutes to play before the intermission. Schmidt back for his 4th kick of the evening. And Grant's kick is long, and once again bounces into the end zone for a touchback.
Irish take over 1st and 10 at their own 20. Don't forget to stick around during halftime.
And so the number 23, the senior who has stepped into kicking duties this week, is staking a claim to make this move potentially a permanent one.
And you guys know what's coming next Friday night already. So we'll make sure.
Thus far, 4 touchbacks and 4 very clean PATs. Pass is complete. Number 12, Anthony Mahoma.
Sergeant
And we've had a
completes number 12, Griffin Merritt.
switch
Tackled by Harrington.
in quarterbacks. Michael Sargent taking his seat, and he's been replaced by Michael Patton, number 5, a 6 foot, 160-pound junior. And Sargent returns to the game, pulls the ball down and legs it forward, and he is pushed out of bounds right around the 35-yard line.
Sergeant on the scramble.
That will pick up a first down for Sacred Heart Cathedral.
By number 20,
So we got our first look at Michael Patton in the previous play. Patton with 2 touchdowns on the year, 2 touchdown passes on the year. Also has amassed a fair amount of running yardage for the Irish. But after his play, Sargent returning.
34-yard line. 8-yard gain, first and 10.
And the sophomore quarterback remains on the field. With Legend Williams, the lone running back. 3 receivers, top of the screen. The ball is thrown and complete.
Sargent's pass complete to Griffin Merritt. 20-yard gain to the Monarch.
And that's number 12, Griffin Merritt.
First and 10 Irish.
A great tightrope act on the near sideline, and Merritt's catch good enough for another Fighting Irish first down. Sargent pass a little underthrown.
Sargent's pass incomplete.
Jackson Irons, the intended receiver, again looking to try to find something up the middle of the Archbishop Mitty
Second and 10.
central zone. And to be fair, Irons was open, but that pass was underthrown. And that'll bring up a 2nd and 10. Williams, the lone setback. Sargent in the shotgun, takes the snap. And a great play. Toju Maku on the safety blitz. Number 5 got his hand up just as Sargent was getting ready to release and knock that pass down. And that'll bring up a 3rd and 10 from the 46. Irons and Williams in the backfield, and we can expect Irons to move into the slot, which he does. Motion is Griffin Merritt. And a great bit of footwork to evade the rush. And Sargent finds number 2, O'Brien Flanagan, for a big gain.
That's an 11-yard gain. First and 10.
An 11-yard gain, good enough for a first down, and the ball now 1st and 10 at the Monarch 35. So Sargent with some improvisation on that play and finding Flanagan on the far sideline. Sargent back to pass again. He's put under pressure, and this time he will not get away, and there is a fumble. And it looks as though
Sargent sacked on the play by 85.
The ball was recovered by the Fighting Irish, but that time the Monarchs managed to get excellent containment on the sophomore quarterback. He pulled the ball down and gave an idea to running, but there was no space as the Monarchs closed down the lanes. And then the ball squirted out, but was recovered by one of the offensive linemen. And so a loss of about 7 yards, and that's going to bring up a 2nd and call it a long 16. Irons and Merritt split to the bottom of your screen. Sargent drops back the pass. It's a blitz again. He evades the first tackler, but not the second.
Sargent sacked on the play again by 85, Drayton Johnson. Good help from Tika
Drayton
Reed.
Johnson, number 85, on the tackle. And that'll bring up
Third down and very long.
a 3rd and 23. Sargent again put under immense pressure, and that time Tika Reed with some amazing individual effort. Reed was double teamed on that pass rush, rolled off the double team, and when he looked up, Sargent had stepped up to evade the outside pressure and stepped directly into Reed, who made a big play. And so after what was initially a very impressive offensive drive, the Fighting Irish moved backwards, and this will bring up a 4th.
The last sack moved it all the way back to the Irish 47. Fourth down and 28.
A 4th and 28, and this will bring out the punt team. And the Irish get the kick away, but it is a very short kick.
Sebastian Gonzalez-Moore's punt goes out of bounds at the Monarch.
Gonzalez-Moore, number 19, the punter. He was just able to get the kick away. There was quite a bit of pressure, but unfortunately for the Irish, this gives the ball back to the Monarchs with 13.2 left on the clock, and one has to wonder if Danny Sullivan wants to take a shot here in the hopes of potentially putting this game, if not out of reach, certainly making it a huge mountain to climb if the Monarchs can take a 2-touchdown or a 4-touchdown lead into halftime. And Mitty with 3 receivers to the right. Screen pass goes out to Faraj Washington. He breaks a tackle. And an intelligent play to get that ball into the hands of Faraj Washington and see if he could make something happen with his open field running. Monarchs call a timeout, and there is 4.2 seconds left on the clock.
26 yards.
And so you would have to think that at this point, the Monarchs calling a timeout here, they will try to take a shot here with time for one play. And given that the ball is now at the Fighting Irish 37, makes sense that Danny Sullivan would try his luck here with a 3-touchdown lead. And the Irish reeling. Sullivan likely to give his offense an opportunity here to tack on another score as they head into the half. And speaking of the half, make sure you stick around. We'll have the Royals dance team with their usual entertaining halftime routines. Not to mention the Archbishop Mitty marching band. But before we do that, Joey Campagna brings the team out. Toju Maku at the bottom of your screen with 2 receivers split to the left. Billy Hutton, number 12, in the slot. And Maddox Gamez at the wide receiver position. A.J. Senezal in the backfield. And Campagna will likely try to air this one out. He's flushed out of the pocket, and he won't get that pass off. Yes, Campagna is sacked. Number 50, Dante Ball, with the quarterback sack. And so the Monarchs unable to convert on the field position, but leave the field. After 2 quarters of play, they move into the half, and it's Archbishop Mitty 28, Sacred Heart Cathedral 7. You're watching Archbishop Mitty football on AMHS Live.
Again, 18-minute total halftime, 15 plus 3.
Stretch out.
I've heard that chant before. Ladies and gentlemen, to begin our halftime show tonight, here they are, an Anifra Rhodes production, the best dance team in the CCS, the Archbishop Mitty. Oh. the best. Your Archbishop Mitty Royals. We'll see the Royals again next week at the big game halftime show. Performing from the stands tonight to continue our halftime show, the Archbishop Mitty Pep Band.
And welcome back, everybody. 5 minutes and 30 seconds left. Halftime break. Entertained, hopefully.
On the West Catholic Athletic League scoreboard tonight, just one other game underway. Up in the city on 37th Avenue at St. Ignatius, the Bellarmine Bells lead the SI Wildcats at the half, 21-17. Tomorrow, Valley Christian will play at Archbishop Reardon, and St. Francis of Mountain View travels up to San Mateo to take on the Serra Padres. There's a 1:30 kickoff tomorrow in San Mateo. And if Serra manages to win that game, they will come in here next Friday night as the #1 team in Northern California. And they will take on your Monarchs. Kickoff scheduled 4 p.m. for the JV game, 7 o'clock for the varsity kickoff. The #1 ranked team in NorCal headed into tomorrow's game, the Serra Padres. Here next Friday, 4 and 7. Get here early. There's going to be a lot of extra people here coming to cover that one, coming to watch that one, should the Padres remain undefeated after tomorrow. So get here early, make your plans for next Friday night. Monarchs and Padres, 4 and 7 again. Get here early next Friday. Don't forget, Archbishop Mitty volleyball returns to the Fiend Gymnasium this Tuesday, senior night, 2023. I know it's only early October on Tuesday, but the volleyball schedule's going by fast. So we'll have senior night this Tuesday before the Monarchs host St. Ignatius, 6 p.m. We'll start the senior ceremony a few minutes before that after the JV match this Tuesday in honor of our 4 seniors, Annabella Rando, Amia Cucci-Butler, Caitlin Cook, and Jillian Pasquale. Be there, pack the pit. Be there this Tuesday, 6 p.m. Be there early. Pack the pit. Monarch Volleyball Senior Night against SI.
And welcome back once again, Foothill College. Both teams return to the field and completing their warm-up ahead of the start of the third quarter. And Danny Sullivan and the coaching staff have got to be pleased with both the response of these Monarchs to falling behind to an early Fighting Irish touchdown. But more importantly, a lot of improvement in the execution on both sides of the ball this week. No turnovers, no avoidable penalties, and needless yards given away, and an excellent job of ball security by Mitty. All areas that the coaching staff had identified needed a lot of improvement. And it must be said that the special teams play has also been outstanding. I mentioned Grant Schmidt a little bit earlier, 4 for 4 in his PAT attempts and 4 touchbacks in his kickoffs. So thus far, a nearly clean performance by the Monarchs, and that certainly has to be gratifying to the coaching staff and to these players themselves. A tough loss last week across town, and certainly one that could have resonated with these young men, but they have taken some solace in a solid week of preparation, ironed out some of the wrinkles that they discovered, and have returned to fine execution. And the defense also doing a good job against what has been thus far a fairly fluid and effective Irish offense, led by sophomore quarterback Michael Sargent. If you missed the beginning of the broadcast, Sargent starting his first game and actually playing in his first game for the Irish. Number 15, a transfer student, 6 foot 175 quarterback. This is his first night eligible to play, and he started out as well as could be hoped, connecting on a long touchdown pass, number 10, Jackson Irons, on the receiving end. And the Irish jumped out to a quick 7-0 lead after their first drive. But since then, it's been all Archbishop Mitty for the remaining portion of the first 2 quarters of play. And speaking of first appearances, number 44, Lazaro Farage Washington, another sophomore, Mitty's new running back sensation. There's been a lot of talk amongst the team. Farage Washington putting on impressive displays and an excellent work at practice. And Danny Sullivan finally able to get the young man on the field tonight, and he has certainly repaid the faith in him, as he is the recipient of a 66-yard touchdown catch and run. He's also made his presence felt with a few long runs and demonstrated a lot of excellent open field ability. I'm sure we're going to see more from him in the second half, and that second half is about ready to get underway as Grant Schmidt puts the ball on the tee. And Schmidt's kick is short this time, caught by one of the upbacks, and he moves the ball out. That was number 75, Benjamin Hatch.
Number 75,
senior guard and defensive tackle, also putting in some duty here on special teams. And Hatch returns Schmidt's kick out to the Irish 30-yard line, a 6-yard return, and that'll bring Michael Sargent and the offense back out to the field for Sacred Heart Cathedral. Number 10, Jackson Iron shifts into the slot. Handoff goes to Legend Williams.
Number 6, Legend Williams, the ball carrier.
Finally brought to a stop by number 45, Tika Reed.
35.
He's credited with a gain of 5 yards. That'll bring up a 2nd and 5.
Giving him another yard forward progress. So 6-yard gain, 2nd down and 4.
2 receivers split to the bottom of your screen. 2 to the top. Williams again, the lone setback. Sargent does not like what he sees, and with 11:16 left on the clock,
That'll make it 2nd down.
And check that. It was actually a illegal procedure call, and that'll move the ball back 5 yards. So we started over again. 2nd and a long 9. Sargent checking off the play, making sure everyone's on the same page. Working against the clock here, and they do get the play off. Another blitz, but this time Sargent reads it well and manages to get the pass off, and it's complete to Jackson Irons.
Sargent's pass complete.
And the senior wideout advances the ball about 9 yards.
There is a flag on the play.
Referees conferring. Apparently there is a flag on the play. That one coming in a bit late.
Against the ball carrier, 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
And it is a face masking penalty. The ball is marched back.
Back to the 33. Irish get their down back.
And that will bring up a 2nd and 8. A blitz again. Sargent picks up the blitz, and he finds a receiver.
Sargent's pass complete.
O'Brien Flanagan.
But it's coming back due to a
And we have another flag on the field, and it looks like this one is coming back. So O'Brien Flanagan with another fine catch and run, but this one's going to get chalked off. And it looks like it may be a hold on the Fighting Irish. And we wait for the official signal here. And it is in fact a hold. That'll cost Sacred Heart Cathedral 10 more yards. And the Irish moving in the wrong direction from their perspective. 2nd and 17 with 3 receivers split to the bottom of your screen. Williams the lone setback. Sargent back to pass, and he is picked off again. And there are multiple flags on the field.
Knocked out of bounds at the 3 or so if it stands.
Owen Harrington with his 2nd interception of the night. He was knocked out of bounds at 3-yard line, but we have a marching band collection of flags on the field.
Interception. On the return, we have a personal foul, blindside block against Mitty. That'll be a 15-yard penalty. 1st down.
And a blindside block.
So
Personal foul called on the Monarchs on the return. That's going to cost them 15 yards from the spot of the penalty. And so a great return by Owen Harrington is marked off the board.
the Irish 35.
But the turnover will stand, and that means that the Monarchs will take the ball over. And rather than having it on the 3-yard line, the ball is now at the 35. Joey Campagna in the shotgun. Play action pass, Campagna with a little flare to Caden Allard. He evades the first tackler, the second, and rumbles forward inside the 20-yard line, finally brought down at about the 18. Allard, the lone holdover from last year's outstanding receiving corps, and again showed some nifty open field running as Caden moves the ball inside the 20-yard line and bring up a 1st and 10 for the Monarchs. Delayed handoff. Ethan McCombie. And McCombie is stopped after a short gain.
Tackled by 62, Jariah Bellarmine.
And maybe back to the original line of scrimmage. And that is, in fact, the spot. So it'll bring up a 2nd and 10 from the 19-yard line. Hutton, Allard. And now Hutton in motion. And there's a fumble, which is recovered by Campagna. Busted play there. And it looked like a miscommunication between Joey and Ethan McCombie on that delayed handoff.
So no gain on that play.
The Monarchs getting a favorable bounce and recovered the ball and managed to once again bring it back to the original line of scrimmage. So that'll bring up a 3rd and 10 from the 19. McCombie again in the backfield, 2 receivers to the left. Campagna, play fake. He rolls forward, and Joey is down near the goal line and brought down. Chase Jenkins with a touchdown-saving tackle to prevent Campagna from getting into the end zone. But again, for the 4th time this evening, a nifty bit of ball handling, and Campagna rumbling forward for an 18-yard gain. And that'll bring up a 1st and goal for the Monarchs with the ball marked just over the 2-yard line. So a gain of about 17 yards. Delayed handoff there goes to McCombie. He surges forward with Jonah Kronig now in at quarterback. Kronig known for his running ability as well. Undoubtedly trying to create a guessing game for this Fighting Irish defense. McCombie stays in the game as the lone tailback. Kronig takes the snap. Hands off, McCombie surges forward, rumbles into the end zone. And so the Monarchs, after that interception by Owen Harrington, regroup after the personal foul and end up moving the ball 35 yards downfield. And that'll bring Grant Schmidt out for his 5th point after attempt. Ball is snapped, kicked, and it is good. And with 6:59 left in the 3rd quarter, it's Archbishop Mitty 35, Sacred Heart Cathedral 7. You're watching Archbishop Mitty football on AMHS Live. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Foothill College. Monarchs just capitalizing on a 35-yard drive. Capped off when Ethan McCombie found the end zone. Grant Schmidt back to kickoff for the Monarchs. And the ball is fielded by the up back. And that was number 10, Jackson Irons. He's brought down a hard tackle just over the 20-yard line, and that's where Sacred Heart Cathedral will take over. Quick update from up in the city. The Bellarmine Bells tacking on a 41-yard field goal at the start of the second half. They now lead St. Ignatius. It's Bellarmine 24, St. Ignatius 17, with about 4:03 left to go in the third quarter of play. In the meantime, Michael Sargent rolling out here. Had a receiver open, but unfortunately his pass is a little long for Jackson Irons. Pass is incomplete. And it'll bring up a 2nd and 10 from the Irish 24-yard line. Sargent makes his way over to the sideline, and then he's back with the play now. Joined in the backfield, as he has been most of the evening, by Legend Williams. Three receivers split to the right, 2 to the left. And the Irish with a lot of ground to make up here. Another safety blitz. Sargent is flushed out of the pocket, and he is brought down. Number 42, Caden Kelly.
Sargent sacked on the play by number 42.
And Kelly with his first tackle of the evening in what could prove to be a consequential one, as it moves the ball back and presents the Irish with a 3rd and 13 from their own 21-yard line. 3 receivers to the right, and before the play can go off, Griffin Merritt, number 12, jumps offside, and that'll back them up another 5 yards, bring up a 3rd and 18.
Sack number 42 is Caden Kelly.
Williams again, the lone setback. Sargent takes the snap. It's a big rush. Sargent managed to get the pass off, but Williams is met by a host of Monarchs, led by number 45, Tika Reed. And he is tackled for a loss. And that's going to bring up a 4th. And there was a late flag on that last play. And it looks like an unsportsmanlike conduct against the Monarchs, and that will move the ball 15 yards forward, but most importantly, that's an automatic first down. So the first time tonight that the Monarchs have shot themselves in the foot. And let's see if that opens the door for Sacred Heart to try to get themselves back into this ball game, trailing 35-7. Legend Williams rumbles forward near a first down. Stopped just short of the 41-yard line. There's a player down on the field.
Official timeout for injury.
And that is Tika Reed. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Reed took a pretty severe knock last week across town at St. Francis. Suffered a shoulder injury And there were a lot of people that didn't know if Tika was going to be able to play tonight, but he has made his presence felt. And unfortunately, on that last play, he may have re-aggravated that injury. And Reed is helped to his feet.
Tika Reed being assisted for your Monarchs. Hopefully he'll be all right.
Walking a little gingerly. We'll have to keep an eye on Tika and see if he manages to shake that off. One would have to think at this point, with a 35-7 lead, that with the game relatively in hand and Sarah looming on the horizon next week, that might be Reed's final act of the evening. Even if he is able to return, they will undoubtedly need him next week against the Padres. Delayed handoff goes to Legend Williams, and Williams again rumbles forward. And you can see why he is the leading ball carrier for the Irish.
Tackled by Hardesty along with Maku.
Again, tough running in between the tackles by number 6, and he pounds the ball out for another Sacred Heart Cathedral first down.
8-yard gain, 1st and 10 at the Irish.
3 receivers split to the right at the top of your screen. Williams in the backfield with Sargent. And a delayed handoff. Williams rumbles forward, picks up about 8 yards.
Williams, the ball carrier. Stopped by Hardesty and Saladin.
And again, the Fighting Irish
But they're up to
moving the ball nicely here. Certainly helped out by that unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. But they've managed to take advantage of that, and they've now moved the ball into Monarch territory. Williams rumbles forward again, breaks the first tackle, and he's brought down finally. Number 54, Max Whalen. Whalen brought up from the junior varsity team for this game.
With Maku. Down to the
5 junior varsity players were moved and activated to the roster as Sacred Heart Cathedral does not field a junior varsity team, only a pure freshman squad in their varsity, and so 5 of the boys from the junior varsity team seeing their first varsity action tonight. Among them, Max Whalen. Quarterback keeper. And Sargent picks his way forward.
Sargent's on the option. Tackle by Hardesty.
The option keeper there.
7-yard rush.
And he leaves himself 3 yards short. Bring up a 2nd and 3 at the 30-yard line of Archbishop Mitty. Irons again split into the slot. Top of your screen. Sargent delayed handoff. Williams smashes his way forward, and that should be good enough. Close to a first down. We'll have to wait to see where the spot is. And he did, in fact, manage to move the chains. And the ball is marked finally at the Archbishop Mitty 24-yard line.
Stopped by Saladin with Hardesty. Down to the 24. That's a 1st and 10.
Williams in the backfield, split to Sargent's left. Again, the big running back surging forward and is met by Owen Harrington, number 87.
Williams again. Hit by
So
Zach Niel with 50, Eric Robles.
the Fighting Irish resorting to some power football here on this drive.
No gain.
Grinding their way downfield.
2nd down.
Williams picked up perhaps a yard on that last carry. That'll bring up a 2nd and call it a long 9. Sargent takes a tough snap, back to pass. He's got a receiver open. But O'Brien Flanagan not able to bring that ball down in the end zone. And with the incomplete pass, that'll bring up a 3rd and 10. 1:40 left on the clock here in the third quarter. You would have to think that
3rd down and 10 at the Monarch 24.
Trailing by 4 touchdowns, that this is 4 down territory for the Irish. They really need to get a score here to get themselves back in the game and give themselves any chance heading into the 4th quarter. Sargent back to pass. He rolls to his right. He's got a receiver open, and unfortunately, Prince Parham.
Sargent's pass incomplete, intended for number 4, Prince Barham.
A 5'10" freshman. Parham ran a great route, but unfortunately was not able to secure the pass, and that'll bring up a 4th and 10. And as we said, this is certainly 4 down territory from here on out for Sacred Heart Cathedral. 3 receivers at the bottom of your screen with a single receiver up top. Sargent back to pass. And the ball is deflected and caught. And what a circuit catch there. Number 12, Griffin Merritt. That ball was deflected, and Merritt managed to work his way back and make a diving grab. It's a 14-yard gain, and more importantly, it moves the sticks and moves the Irish inside the 10-yard line for our 1st and goal situation. So Griffin Merritt with really the catch of the evening for either team, showing amazing concentration on that batted pass. 2 receivers split either side. Sargent back to pass. He's got a receiver open, and that pass is ruled out of bounds. With
pass incomplete, intended for
Merritt, the intended receiver again.
2nd down and goal.
And that'll bring up a 2nd and goal. This time 3 receivers split to the top of your screen, with Merritt, the lone receiver, on the near sideline. Monarchs showing blitz. Handoff given to Williams. He rumbles forward and is brought down.
Williams, the ball carrier.
Number 8,
Tackled by Niall and
Talon Salahi. And Salahi comes up a little bit lame after that play. 3rd and goal for Sacred Heart Cathedral. Play action pass. Sargent's pass is thrown into a crowd. And there is a flag on the play.
Sargent's pass in the end
Officials
zone is
conferring.
incomplete. There may be a flag.
Pass interference. On the defense, at the distance of the goal line. Still 3rd down.
And so pass interference call on the Monarchs. And that's half the distance to the goal. And it'll bring up 3rd down.
So the ball went about 2.5 yards.
19 seconds left here in the 3rd quarter.
Once again, 3rd down and goal.
Williams, the lone setback, just to the right of Sargent. 2 receivers split either side. The sophomore quarterback tries to force a play in, but coming up big for the Monarchs there is Caden Kelly.
Brings up 4th down and goal.
Kelly, another one of the junior varsity players brought up for this game, and made a big play there, and that'll bring up a 4th and goal. And it goes without saying that the Irish will go for it here. The ball at about the 2.5-yard line. Williams, the lone setback, just to the right of Sargent. Michael back to pass, looking into the corner of the end zone. Fires a pass, and he's got his man.
Touchdown Irish.
A great catch.
Sargent with a 3-yard touchdown.
Enzo Quattaroli.
Enzo Quattaroli.
And Quattaroli doing some nifty footwork to keep his feet in bounds. And the PAT is no good, wide to the left, so Sebastian Gonzalez Moore unable to convert the point after attempt, and that makes the score with 7.7 seconds left in the third quarter. Archbishop Mitty 35, Sacred Heart Cathedral 13. So you have to give a lot of credit to the Irish. They capitalized on the unsportsmanlike foul early in this drive, which gave them new life and a first down deep in their own territory, and then moved the ball downfield, featuring a lot of power running by their sophomore running back, Legend Williams, and sophomore quarterback Michael Sargent also doing a nice job of finding receivers and mixing up the play calls, ending up with a touchdown pass to Quattaroli, bringing them back into the conversation. Now, of course, the clock is as much an enemy to the Fighting Irish as are the Monarchs. Gonzalez Moore puts the ball on the tee, and we'll see if they try anything interesting here. And instead, he kicks the ball long. The ball is fielded there by Tojo Maku.
Maku on the return.
And downed where he fielded it.
Down at the 18-yard line. First and 10 Monarchs.
Ball was marked at the 18-yard line, and with 5:09 left in the quarter, Joey Campagna and the offense will come out. And so ball security and clock management will be the words of the fourth quarter for the Monarchs as they look to hold on to this lead, if not build upon it. A.J. Senezal.
A.J. Senezal, the ball carrier.
A late flag, and that was a high hit late on Senezal, shot to the head. And you can see on the replay that Senezal took a shot, a forearm shot to the head, and frankly, a late hit, and something that you don't like to see in any high school football game. Maybe a bit of frustration coming out of the Irish there. Referees are still talking it over. The siren has gone off for the end of the third quarter, and the head referee has decided to pick that flag up after a discussion.
Here at Foothill, your Monarchs 35.
It certainly looked from the booth and also on the replay that Senezal took a shot to the head at the end of that run. But the referees are certainly closer to it than we are up here in the booth, and they talked it over and decided the play was brought to a fair end. And so it'll be moved down to the far end of the field for the final quarter of play. with the Monarchs leading 35-13.
Senezal's run was good for 7 yards, and that'll bring up a 2nd and 3.
7-yard gain on the last play for Senezal. Monarchs begin the 4th quarter.
Jonah Kroening, actually the quarterback on that last play, and Kroening returns to the field. As Joey Campagna takes a seat. Kroening has Senezal as a partner in the backfield, takes a snap, steps back, airs one out, and he finds Caden Allard. Good for a 1st down. Allard, one of the best possession receivers in the league, ran an excellent route, knew exactly where the sticks were, and managed to catch and hold that ball in traffic. Ball now marked at the Monarch 32-yard line. Kroening remains in the game. And off to Senezal. Finds a hole to the left, and he busts a move out. Some fine open field running, and there are flags thrown behind the play. And that one looks like it'll be coming back. There is a hold. And so the execution that we talked about that seemed nearly flawless in the first half has gone somewhat awry here in the 2nd stanza of play. A couple of really ill-timed penalties on both sides of the ball have chalked off long gains and also given field possession over to the Irish at various points in the half. It's certainly a learning opportunity for the Monarchs, but they do need to clean things up here despite having a pretty commanding lead thus far. Hand off, it goes to Senezal, this time runs to his right. Weaves his way through traffic and works his way back nearly to the original line of scrimmage. And Senezal
2nd down and 12.
Brings off a 2nd down and 12. AJ is replaced in the backfield by number 44, Lazaro Faraj Washington. Kroening takes the snap. Airs one out. And that ball knocked down. Play made by Chase Jenkins.
Is incomplete. Broken up by Bird.
And they'll bring up a third and 12.
3rd down and 12 at the 30.
Play being signaled in from the sideline. Formation finds Billy Hutton in the slot with Maddox Gamez split to the left. Kroening back to pass, airs one out, and he has his receiver. Pass is complete to number 10, Justin Mendez, but that'll leave the Monarchs short, and they'll bring up a 4th and about 2.
9-yard completion to the 39.
Make that a 4th and 3. And it looks like, at least by appearance, that Danny Sullivan has decided to go for it. And of course, as soon as I say that, a timeout is called. And Sullivan brings the offense over to have a chat about this 4th and 3 with exactly 10 minutes left in the 4th quarter of play, and the Monarchs leading 35-13. So some mixed results here thus far in the second half. More points certainly put on the board. But some mistakes having been made. And that will no doubt be a part of the conversation that the coaching staff is having with the offense at this point. The importance of closing this game out cleanly, not only to secure this result, but in preparation for next week's home game with Sarah. Kronig returns at quarterback. Raj Washington out there with him as the lone setback. Oh, and a quick kick. So a little bit of trickery there. With Jonah Kronig dropping back into the quarterback position and then executing a rarely seen quick kick. And that moves the ball back on the change of possession to the Irish 23, where Sacred Heart Cathedral will take over with 9:49 left on the clock. Handoff goes to Legend Williams again. The sophomore
Williams, the ball carrier.
Rushes forward for a nifty 7-yard pickup. That'll bring up a 2nd and 3 from the 30.
30-yard line, 2nd and 3.
3 receivers split to the bottom of your screen. Single receiver up high. Sargent looks to his right, throws. Oh, and nearly picked off.
Sargent's pass incomplete, intended for
Almost a
flag.
great play there. Adam Carrera
3rd down and 3.
sitting in deep coverage. Got his hands on it, but was not able to secure the ball, and that'll bring up a 3rd and 3. Three receivers again to the bottom of the screen. Handoff goes to Williams, and he is met at the line. And from this angle, it does not look like he got the yards needed. It'll depend on the spot. And he is definitely short by about 2 yards. And so, once again,
Official stoppage for line to gain determination.
and they're going to measure this. The initial spot looked to have been short, but the referees have decided that they want to take a look at this, and the chain is stretched, and by the nose of the ball, Williams manages to get a first down and earn a fresh set of downs. For the Fighting Irish. Again, three receivers split to the bottom of your screen. Single receiver up high. Sargent sprints to his right. He's looking downfield. Checks off, and that ball was knocked loose and is now being ruled as an incomplete pass. Number 77, Dan Smith, fell on the loose ball, but the ball again ruled to have been incomplete, and that'll bring up a 2nd and 10. Enzo Quadaroli checking into the game. And once again, 3 receivers are split to the right. Sargent delayed handoff, and Williams is absolutely smashed in the backfield. Met by number 8, Talon Selahi. And Selahi read that play as if he were in the huddle of the Fighting Irish, and for the first time tonight managed to bring down the big sophomore running back for a substantial loss, and that brings up a 3rd and 13. And leaves Michael Sargent with a lot to do as he drops back to pass. Got a receiver open here on the sideline, but the ball is thrown too far. That pass is incomplete, and that'll bring up a 4th and 13. And the punt team has been sent out by the Fighting Irish. With 7:47 left on the clock. The thinking here, obviously, is that losing field position and the ball at this point would put the Irish defense under an unbelievable amount of pressure. So number 19, Sebastian Gonzalez-Moore, comes into the game to punt. A low rolling kick. Billy Hutton runs the ball down and then lets it roll harmlessly out of bounds. The ball is marked at the 30-yard line, where the Monarchs will take over with 7:38 left to play. So the previous series, rather mistake-ridden.
Make it the 30. 40-yard punt for Gonzalez-Moore, 1st and 10. On the WCAL scoreboard tonight up in the city on 37th Avenue. They have 34 seconds left.
And as the team comes back out, another update from up in San Francisco. St. Ignatius has roared back and now lead the Bellarmine Bells. Score 31-30 with 34.1 seconds left to go in that game. So the Wildcats, digging themselves out of a hole at home, now have a lead inside the last minute over the Bellarmine Bells. Meanwhile here, Faraj Washington rumbles forward for a couple of yards. That'll bring up a 2nd and 8.
Gain of 3, 2nd down and 7.
And Faraj Washington remains in the game with Kronig at the quarterback spot.
We have a dead ball foul. Encroachment on the defense. 5-yard penalty.
And a dead ball foul. Offside encroachment against the Fighting Irish, and that will tack 5 yards on and bring up a 2nd and 2 for the Monarchs. Faraj Washington again, the lone back with Kronig, who takes the snap, steps back to pass. He's got a receiver open. Oh, and unfortunate. Maddox Gamez running a great slant route. But unfortunately, he was not able to secure the ball. Might have started running before he actually brought the pass in. And the ball is ruled incomplete. And that will bring up a 3rd and 2. Gamez and Hutton remain in the game at receiver. Both split to the left. Justin Mendez, the lone receiver, to the right. There's a fumble on the play. And Jonah Kronig manages to recover what looked to be a tricky snap from John Skeet.
Kronig sacked on the play by 62 Jariah Bellamy. 8-yard loss back to the 30. 4th down and 10.
And check that. That was Dan Contino at center. So 4th and 10 here. Koenig again with another quick kick, and this ball is snapped. Snap kicked and finally ruled dead at the 42-yard line.
1st and 10.
So the coaching staff managing to get some reps for many of the second string offensive players. And of course, it's valuable to take these opportunities should they ever need to step into an enhanced role. But unfortunately, a couple of miscues in the last 2 series. Sargent airs one out, and he's got his man.
Sargent's pass complete to Merritt.
Once again, that's Griffin Merritt. And the senior receiver having himself a tidy little second half as he hauls that one in for a long gain. And the ball now deep in Monarch territory. Marked at the 27-yard line, brings up a 1st and 10. Sargent takes the snap, drops back to pass. He's flushed out of the pocket. Pulls the ball down. Drops a shoulder. And ran over number 42, Caden Kelly, who thought that he had narrowed an angle on the sophomore quarterback, but Sargent dropping a shoulder and then surging forward for about 6 more yards, gained enough for a 1st down. 1st and 10 at the 16, and we are at the 5-minute mark here in the 4th quarter of play. Williams the lone setback. And Williams takes the handoff, runs over left tackle, and is brought down. Number 77, Dan Smith, assisted there
by 38, Luke Giovanetti.
by number 38, Luke Giovanetti.
Gain of 2 to the 14.
2-yard gain will bring up a 2nd and 8 from the 14 as the clock continues to tick here at Foothill. Three receivers, tight formation, top of your screen. Sargent takes the pass, quick pop pass inside.
Sargent's pass complete.
And that pass complete once again to Griffin Merritt.
Stop by 35, Ty Sniffen.
Clock continues to tick. Williams reverses his field, and he breaks the first tackle and brings the ball down inside the 5-yard line.
Williams, the ball carrier,
And that'll bring up a 1st and goal. Ball now marked at the 3.
down to the 3. 1st and goal.
Williams again, the ball carrier, moves and surges forward over the right and breaks into the end zone. And the Irish have themselves another touchdown here late in the 4th quarter.
Touchdown, Sacred Heart Cathedral.
And it's certainly nothing less than they deserve, and Williams getting into the end zone. A just reward for all the hard work he's put in tonight for Sacred Heart Cathedral. A lot of tough running going on. And the Irish will go for 2. Sargent takes the snap, drops back to pass. He's flushed out of the pocket to his right, tucks the ball away, and he will... And he is stopped short of the goal line.
And they get stopped inside the 1.
Interesting play there. The line judge gave it a long, hard look and looked for a moment as though he was going to signal
Archbishop Mitty 35. And
that the PAT was good, but thought better of it, kept his hands in his pockets, and that makes the score 35-19 in favor of Archbishop Mitty, with 3 minutes and 27 seconds left to play in the game. The Irish huddling up on the far side of the field. You have to think at this point they'll be trying to work out something here in terms of an onside kick. And Mitty responding by bringing their hands team out, including Caden Allard, Abby Meston, and a number of the other skill players out there, not the usual kick return team. And so let's see what Gonzalez Moore puts on here. Ball squibbed up and ably covered. Number 44, Lazaro Farage Washington. So the debutante
Monarch ball, 1st and 10. At their own
puts in a shift in special teams and demonstrates his sure hands by covering up that onside kick. Monarchs take over now with 3:27 left on the clock and the ball resting on their own 49-yard line. Final score from up in the city: St. Ignatius 31, Bellarmine 30. And J.B. Murphy Stadium certainly must have been absolutely rocking as the host Wildcats came roaring back in the second half and put the sword to the guests from San Jose. Wildcats defeating the Bells 31-30 with that late touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Has it gone on a non-zero number?
So they improved their record to 2-0 on the season in league play.
So I'm still at 40.
And Bellarmine, their second loss, as the Bills lost last weekend at home to Valley Christian.
once again, 1st and 10 Monarchs at their own 49.
Meanwhile, we'll turn our attention back to the field here with just a little over 3 minutes left to play.
Non-zero number.
Jonah Kronig remains the quarterback. Again, a tricky snap. And Kronig with good hands, averting another catastrophe. And the scoreline being what it is, it's a fairly comfortable scoreline with just over 3 minutes left, but the Monarchs do not want to give the ball back to the Irish, if for no other reason than to maintain some level of momentum and emotional confidence about their performance tonight. Dan Contino continues to snap. That time he managed a clean exchange. Ball handed off there to number 33, Ethan McCombie, but McCombie brought down for a big loss, and that'll bring up a 4th and 18.
That was a TFL back to the 40.5.
Timeout called on the field with 2:33 left. So certainly a balancing act in times like this for the coaching staff. You want to try to get your players into contests, both as a reward for all the hard work they put in, but as I mentioned earlier, this tough campaign in the WCAL, anyone could be called upon at any time due to injury to have to step up and into a larger role. So giving these players an opportunity here late in the game to get some snaps and reps is an important part of the overall development of the team. Trade-off, of course, is that the execution level is not as sharp as it might be with the starters. And after that timeout, 3rd and 19, Bill Hutton. Jonah Kronig with the play fake, and Kronig surges forward, a gain of about 15 yards, but that's going to leave them at least 6 yards short of the first down.
Timeout. Sacred Heart Cathedral.
And Sacred Heart Cathedral stops the clock with 2:23.
Up to the Irish 48-yard line. 12-yard gain, 4th down and 7 coming up.
It'll be 4th and 7 for Archbishop Mitty. And again, an interesting decision here in terms of the play call. We have not seen Dylan O'Lean, the regular punter, at all tonight. The last 2 possessions were quick kick 4th down options that were performed by backup quarterback Jonah Kronig. Kronig returns to the field. And he lines up again in a deeper shotgun and looks to execute that quick kick again. The ball rolling down near the goal line, and an excellent play by number 1, Maddox Gamez.
Gets into the end zone for a touchback.
The senior wide receiver scampering downfield and getting to the ball literally on the goal line to knock it back into the field of play. And
28-yard net. 1st and 10 Irish at their own 20.
And now apparently the ball has been ruled to have broken the plane, but you have to take your hat off to Gamez for his hustle. It looked from the booth here as though he had been able to keep the ball out of the end zone. Obviously the officials ruled otherwise, but a great hustle play by the senior wide receiver and defensive back. In the meantime, the Irish take over at their own 20-yard line. Michael Sargent completes a pass.
Complete to Merritt for 1st down.
And Griffin Merritt again, the receiver.
13 to the 33.
Catch good for 13 yards. That brings the ball out to the 33, 1st and 10 with 1 minute and 50 seconds left in the game. Sargent rears back, throws again. And Merritt continues to put on a show here in the 4th quarter, as the senior wideout, 6'1", 165 pounds. And he has been the primary target for Sargent for the majority of this 4th quarter. And before the snap, the Monarchs use their final timeout of the game. With a minute 35, and the defensive coaching staff will want to regroup. Monarchs stand out to Kari Monroe, the defensive coordinator for this team. With some quick words just to get everybody back on the same page. Again, the outcome of this game is fairly beyond the reach of the Irish, but the Monarchs do want to end on a positive note. And Monroe made his point clear to his defensive charges. Sargent steps up, fires a pass, and the pass is complete to O'Brien Flanagan.
Sargent's pass complete to Flanagan. Tackled by 4, Adam Carrera. 6-yard gain.
Bring up a 2nd and 4 from the Monarch 33. And Griffin Merritt again with a quick hitter inside the slot. Picked up a nice block and then cut back into the interior of the secondary. And that was good enough for a first down. 1st and 10 at the Monarch 20-yard line. 1 minute left to play here in the 4th quarter. And that play sniffed out nicely.
Tackled by Salahi.
Number 8, Talent Salehi.
Matter of fact, it's a TFL of a yard. 2nd and 11 at the 21.
And the senior with a great individual tackle out there in the flat. And this one is going to be whistled dead before the snap.
There's a dead ball foul. Encroachment on the offense. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
And an illegal motion penalty called on the Irish. And that'll move the ball back 5 yards. And bring up a 2nd and 16. And the clock continues to run. 23 seconds left in the game. Sargent drops back to pass. He's got a receiver open, and there are flags on the field. That'll be pass interference. And this will move the ball forward, but more importantly, in the perspective of the Irish, it will stop the clock with 18.6 seconds left to play.
On the defense, 15-yard penalty.
And so the ball is advanced 15 yards down to the 11-yard line. And that'll bring up a 2nd and 1. With 18.6 left on the clock. Now, there are no timeouts left for the Irish. And then the referees are reconferring about the spot. The ball is backed up. And it'll now be a 2nd and 4.
Half the distance to the goal line, which puts the ball on the 13-yard line, 2nd down.
The ball now spotted on the 13-yard line. So the Irish, with no timeouts, will have to put the ball in the air. They do not have time to run the ball. And the pass is completed for a touchdown. Number 10, Jackson Irons. And as he has done all night long, running out of his pattern out of the slot, Irons broke his pattern into the center of the Monarch zone, found a seam, and made a great catch. And the Irish will go for 2 here with 13.4 left on the clock. Sargent's pass is...
Sargent's pass is complete to Merritt for the 2-point conversion.
His pass is ruled complete. Griffin Merritt again, and the 2-point conversion is good, and that now makes the score 35-27 with 13.4 seconds left on the clock. And what had been a comfortable Monarch lead for the majority of this second half has now turned into a rather edgy situation. The Monarchs now holding on to a 35-27 lead.
Still got the small monitor. Small boy.
And once again, one would have to assume that Sebastian Gonzalez Moore will be squibbing the ball for an onside kick. The hands team in again for the Monarchs. So with 13.4 on the clock, this could be a very consequential onside kick. And quite frankly, somewhat mystifyingly, Gonzalez-Moore pooched the ball nearly 20 yards and made it very easy on the Monarchs to recover that kick. And so the danger that lurked on the possibility of the onside kick evaporated. You'd have to think that that was just a poorly executed play. Regardless of that, Archbishop Mitty will now take over and go into victory formation with 13.4 on the clock. Jonah Kronig takes the snap and a knee, and that will do it. But we had a little bit more drama here than perhaps we had bargained for, as the Fighting Irish, true to their name, went down swinging, posting 2 late touchdowns and a 2-point conversion to pull themselves back into this game. But the Monarchs hang on and walk away with their first league win of the 2023 season. The final score here from Foothill College: Archbishop Mitty 35, Sacred Heart Cathedral 27. Make sure to tune in with us next week. We'll be back on the air with our 7 o'clock kickoff as the Serra Padres come to town in week 3 of the WCAL season. We'd like to thank you for joining us tonight. And as always, enjoy your weekend and have a safe one. Good night from all of us here at AMHS Live.
Get ready again. Big week coming up in Monarch Sports. Have your electronic schedule calendars ready to load up.